Like I can live in my head now. And more often than not, I used to run away from that. And that has been a long, long time coming because I had to formulate Warning: this podcast episode discusses sensitive topics, including mental health, abuse, and suicide. The content may be distressing or triggering for some listeners. If you or someone you know is struggling, please consider seeking support from a mental health professional or contacting a crisis helpline in your area. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the Heart to Mic podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Cherono. Here we celebrate the power of authentic conversations, and together we'll explore our emotions, our challenges, and growth through powerful storytelling. This is our final episode of the first season. And I don't know, I have so many emotions, to be honest. I am feeling raw. It feels raw. It feels like I've laid my heart, my soul, myself bare for the world to see. And if you have made it this far, then thank you for watching all the episodes. And if you've noticed that in the series we have done, every episode has ended with a glowing and growing question. And I felt like this last one I should do my own glowing and growing series. However, just to give like when episode starts, I ask, how's your heart? I want to answer first with how my heart is doing. My heart is somewhat feeling lighter, but at the same time it's quite heavy for many reasons. But the lighter aspect of it is because I feel the shame has been lifted off my shoulders. The shame of my past, the shame of my experiences, the shame of the abuse, the shame of my silence. And now I am in a space where I am able to share, and hopefully women have been and men have been inspired by this level of vulnerability, right? I didn't have a particular flow as to how I wanted to have season 1 out, but for me, what was important was that I am able to share and that my guests are able to share as well. When it comes to the glowing and growing like endings and where it came from, I think I mentioned in episode 8 that I introduced the glowing and growing aspect to my podcast because I had a masterclass a while back, the Glow and Grow masterclass. And from it, to be honest, I wanted women to glow and I wanted women to grow in their artistry, but also glow from within. And when it comes to the same, I think there's certain things that I'm growing through and there's certain things that I'm glowing through. And I have 5 of each. I was writing them down before we decided to shoot this episode. So I'll start with the things that I'm glowing through. And the first one is quite obvious, which is my fears. I feel like one of the huge things that I was afraid of was opinion and just a lot of fear regarding my story and the reality of the fact that it's not all rosy and butterflies and sunshine. It is quite rocky and still has a lot to do with where I am. If anything, I attribute all of my power and who I am today to the pain that I've experienced. And to feel like I'm finally breaking out of the fear of, opinions and the world and what would people say, the aunties, the uncles, and etc. It feels quite liberating to stand in my truth. And I hope that this inspires you to do the same. And I think most of the times fear comes from trying to live up to an expectation of maybe our parents and relatives and things of that nature. I don't know why I'm getting a bit emotional. But I think my fears, I know for a fact that fear, shame, and all these other negative emotions don't come from God. And the fact that I am now grounded in my faith and genuinely I know that the Lord loves me, then I should not be fearful. I know the word that has been repeated, the words that have been repeated at least 365 times in the Bible is do not be afraid. And I'm living by them right now. So I'm glowing through my fears. That's number one. Number two, my inner thoughts. Oof. I think at these days I counter them more often than I used to before by number one, catching and being aware of what my inner thoughts are. However, the script is slowly changing. The script is slowly changing. And I'm really proud of the fact that I'm no longer my greatest enemy, but my greatest supporter. And when it comes to managing that, I have mentioned that I'm on medication at the moment to help me function. And I'm looking forward to winning off the medication so that I can be able to manage life by myself fully. However, it has helped me come to an agreement with my reality and not creating scenarios in my head as to what that should look like or feel like. And I'm just truly grateful that there's finally a level of peace in my head. Like I can live in my head now. And more often than not, I used to run away from that. And the voices in my head can be of many people. It can be parents, it can be relatives, it can be people that I've experienced in the past or in the present that I feel like carry a lot of weight when it comes to the value that I place on their opinions. And in this particular moment, I think what matters the most is my opinion and how I feel about myself. And that has changed significantly because I am finally free from the shame. I'm finally free from the fear. I'm finally free from my past. And by that I mean that I've not forgotten the things that I've gone through, but I'm not tied to them. The chains have been completely broken. Thank you, Jesus. So I'm glowing in my inner thoughts. And it's still a work in progress, but I think it's so much better than it was before. Number three is that I'm growing in my glowing. Hey, Wena, it's giving. I'm glowing in my friendships. I am loving them as loud as I can. And I know many of you have seen that based on even my episode with Steph, that I can be a bit morbid. I think about the death quite often, but not from a fear point of view. It's just, it actually a motivating factor for me that I don't know how long I'll be here. And because I don't know how long I'll be here, then I might as well do the things that I want to do now. And I've always loved my friends in different seasons that I've been and in different friendships that I've been. And this is the first time that I feel like it's being fully reciprocated. And not only that, it feels like I am fully expressing myself the way I want to within my friendships. And it's quite a healing process. It's very sentimental to me that I hold them so close to my heart. I think one of the things even my brother says is that he appreciates the fact that he knows there's a community that stands by me and I stand by them. Even during this transitional period when it comes to my mental health, I think the support that I've received from my friends has been phenomenal. And I could not do this life without them. So I think to see the beauty that comes from sisterhood is so beautiful, and I could not have it any other way. Shout out to them. Number four, I am glowing through my boundaries. And by that, I mean, number one, I am learning to say no to anything that I'm not willing or able to do. I think we spoke about people pleasing tendencies in one of the episodes, and I am a victim of that. I would put everyone's needs before mine, and even at the expense of the things that need to be done immediately, the things that have a timestamp to it, I would still overlook that for the sake of the people around me. And I'm learning to set boundaries and healthy boundaries at that without losing the people around me. And the fact that we are all in a space where we are growing together and learning the importance of setting boundaries and having time apart and saying no to certain things without feeling bad about them, or just setting lines and being like, okay, so when it comes to these things and when it comes to my family, for example, then that is a no-go zone, for example, just an example. Yeah. And it feels so liberating to stand up for myself. I think often I I look like I do stand up for myself, but it's only up until recently that I have actually started putting my words into action and taking my own advice, because I'm very keen on telling people to set boundaries with people in their lives, but I was not that keen on setting boundaries with the people in my life. And I'm finally in a space where I do set boundaries, and healthy boundaries at that, that will help us have a well and healthy functioning relationship. So I'm really proud of that. And I've also learned that no is a full statement. I don't have to explain. Because I had a habit of saying, no, because, my mom and nini, nini, this is what happened. My car broke down. No, it's just no. And no is a final statement, and it's a statement on its own. And you don't necessarily have to explain yourself unless you feel the need to. So I'm glowing through my boundaries. Whew, this one is a big one. The final one that I'm glowing through is, actually, I might have another one, but I'm glowing through my solitude. And that was not something that I was comfortable in. Again, because it has a lot to do with my inner thoughts. It had a lot to do with my dependency on the people that were in my life, my mom, for instance. And I'm finally in a space where I'm thinking actively of what life looks like on my own, as opposed to having backup plan, pegging that on someone else, or like, I have my mom and this is going to be fine because of my mom, or this is going to be fine because of ABCD. But like in this moment, I am finding ways to fully celebrate life on my own. And that has been a long, long time coming, because I had to formulate life and a routine that revolved around myself. And that was not what I used to do, because my life was revolved around other people. So to be in a space where I'm the one who calls the shots is absolutely beautiful, guys. It can get lonely, but the loneliness only triggers me to do things that fill my cup. And that only is a sign for me to do the things that make me happy whenever the loneliness starts to kick in. And that means that I will surround myself with my friends, my family, my nephews and my nieces. And that in itself brings me so much joy that I'm able to recuperate and come back to my space and be in my space by myself. And I know many of us struggle with that, but I assure you that the minute you conquer your thoughts and be fully open and vulnerable with yourself, because that's usually the biggest thing, is facing the demons in your head. Because they're quite literally demons. The devil just attacks your mind. So whenever you tackle that and tackle that with faith and prayer and affirmations, and view yourself the same way other people view you, because another thing that I put even on my vision board was that I want the courage to see myself the way other people see me. And I quickly noticed over time that people really put me on a high regard. And the fact that I didn't see myself in the same light for such a long time was pretty sad, number one. But I'm finally seeing myself the same way, if not better, and using that as my armor, you know. whenever things are not going well, it is you have been there before, or you have been in a worse situation before and you have made your way out of it. And because of that, you can make your way out of this one as well. Also, because you have a big God behind you. So, my solitude makes me happy. My space makes me happy. I find so much joy in silence. And that was such a big deal for me because I wanted music. I wanted something to be running in the background so I don't have to be caged in my own thoughts. But in this moment, I find so much joy in just being by myself. And that is a win. So we're glowing in that. My last one, which is obvious, quite literally, I think most people know that I have such a great relationship with my mom at the moment. And I am glowing through that. I think when we speak about like relationship with parents, and I think I know at some point that I had completely given up on it because we're just not seeing eye to eye. And to know that we have grown more so a friendship than a mother-daughter relationship makes me so happy because I cannot not tell her anything. There's nothing that feels too big or too small for me to share with my mom. I am able to see her as a human being. I'm able to sympathize with her. I'm able to relate to her now that I know the entire story. And with that comes a lot of love. And with that comes a lot of growth. And because of that, we are in a much, much better place. And every single day, I think when we interact, I see myself in her and she sees herself in me. And because of that, it makes me genuinely want to be a better mom when the time is right. It makes me want to be very intentional about who I have my children with and the way I will parent in the future. So those are the things I am glowing through. Now, the things that we are growing through. When it comes to my faith, I have had hereditary faith, like from my mom, where because you're going to church on Sunday, you believe that there is a relationship you have with God because your mom asks you to go to church, or because your mom prays at the wee hours of the morning. And only 2 years ago that I decided to actually give my life to Christ. But let me tell you guys, it's not an easy journey. I think your eyes get open to the flaws that you have once you become a Christian, because before that you're very oblivious when it comes to the spectrum of what is right and what is wrong. But once you come to Christ, it is very evident of the things that you shouldn't be doing, also because you're continuously consuming the word. So there are very many instances that I know that I am not doing the right thing, and breaking the patterns of doing something that you were used to doing before is very difficult. And also tackling the shame that may come with it can be tough. However, I do believe that the grace of God is sufficient, and that is why, regardless of how flawed I may be as a Christian, I am not ashamed of the things that I may be struggling with. And I think I've spoken about them openly. And it's still a working progress. I think I'm still working through my devotional. I think when I found out about me being clinically depressed, which was about a month ago, that made me question God a lot and question why he'd allow certain things to happen. Why am I going through this? Why do I have to be medicated? Why does it have to be this bad, yet we've dealt with worse situations before? But I know that he is the one who heals, and I know that my story will be used as a testimony for someone else. So I am growing in my faith and growing in not being able to see the future, not being able to see what lies ahead, but trusting that it's just as good, if not better, than what I'm living in right now. Yeah. I'm figuring it out, and I think God is being very patient with me because we've never been here before and it's the first time we're doing it. So, and maybe if I knew what I was doing it before, then maybe that would have been different. But because I've never been here, then I think I'm slowly getting the supply of grace from God to navigate through this season. So I'm growing through my faith. Another thing that I'm growing through is my confidence as a result of my faith. And unfortunately, when you go through a series of abuse, your confidence is crushed. And there's a level of humiliation that you experience that it's almost like you're building yourself from ground up. And I think I'm slowly getting my voice back. I'm slowly getting my confidence back. I'm slowly getting my speech back, because at some point I used to stammer and stutter a lot. But now I'm thinking through my thoughts and working through my articulation of my thoughts and the translation of the two. And because of this, I feel like my confidence has grown significantly, and I'm now in a space where I'm able to step into my light fully. And that is even not just a beautiful sight for me, but also for the people around me to see and watch me get out of the darkness that existed. And now being in a space where I'm allowing myself to step into my light. And I'm not exactly where I used to be when it comes to my confidence, but I feel like I'm in a much better place than I was before, that I'm able to step out of the house, for instance, without makeup on. I'm not self-conscious about my body, about my acne or anything of the sort. It's just I know that my confidence comes from within, because now the source of my confidence is different. I think before, my confidence was tied to the numbers, it was tied to the following, it was tied to the compliments, but now it is tied to God. And because of that, it has grown significantly. Whew, I feel like this episode is going to be so heavy, guys. The third thing that I'm growing through, is my mental health, for obvious reasons. I feel like we're taking a step back, but also taking a step front at the same time. And by that, I mean being medicated for me is an extreme for me. And I think being in this space, I have realized that it could have been worse, and that there are situations that are far much worse than mine. However, because I don't want to compare, I feel like I need to compare only with my previous mental space. And previously, I was suicidal. I was very, very on the edge, deep into addictions. And by that, I mean alcohol, and very, very dependent on it. And to be in a space where I have fully operated for the past 2 months now without no alcohol in my system feels like a huge win, because I'm able to tackle my thoughts head on, I'm not thinking through things too much, and I'm also not holding things in. And because of that, because of being vocal, my mental health does not suffer because of my silence. If anything, it is growing into a better space. I am able to be comfortable in my own head, which is huge for me, because most times we run away from the thoughts and the voices that we have in our heads. And I am embracing them more than I'm running away from them, which is a win. However, when it comes to the loss aspect, I think I am changing my mindset when it comes to medication and what that may mean for my mental health. And making sure that that does not deter me from the fact that I'm on a healing journey. And in the same way, I would go to hospital to get my hand checked. I've just gone to a mental hospital to get my mind checked. And that does not make it any different. If anything, seeking the help that I need empowers me more. However, I'm aware of the addictions that may come from the medication that we get, i.e. antidepressants. And I'm very much aware of that. And now being in a space where I'm knowledgeable of the things that I am consuming also makes me feel like I'm winning when it comes to my mental health and what I can and cannot take. And because of that, I am very, very protective of what I allow in my head, in my space, in my life that may be detrimental to my mental health. And that stays far away from me. So I think I'm growing in my mental health. Another thing that I'm growing through is my past. And I think everyone has a past. Everyone has a version of themselves that before they came to know who they were, you're not necessarily proud of. And for me, I had so much shame attached to that. And finally, I'm getting to a space where I'm believing that whatever I have gone through is part of the story. And the things that happened are not my fault. Some of the things that I've experienced have been because of the actions of someone else. And I cannot take full responsibility for that. I know one of the things that abusive relationships do to you is that they make you feel like you're responsible for what has transpired. However, I know I may have had a part to play, but I'm not fully responsible for how things may have played out, right? And because of that, I am finding peace by the day to make, when it comes to my past, that is. And I am also fully aware that God wants me to turn that pain into power through this podcast. So I hope that me sharing my story has empowered you in one way or another to also come to terms and be appreciative of the things that you've experienced, regardless of how painful or dark that they may have seemed, because you would not be where you are without those experiences. And for me, I think I find so much strength in knowing that if I went through that and I was able to get through it, that everything that comes to me going forward will also just be something that I'll be able to get through, The last one is I'm growing through my career. And I think because it's slowly changing and I am stepping into a very different space, a very different light. And because of this, there can be snippets here and there of like imposter syndrome of you thinking, okay, so now why do you think you're meant to be in this space? Why do you think you're deserving of these spaces? And I'm finally making peace with it because we would not be here. I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe in that at all. I think everything happens for a reason. And that is because there's someone else who's in control of our lives and how they pan out and not us. So because of that, I have made peace with the changes that I'm experiencing. However, there are days that are good and there are days that are bad. And one of the things that I am finding joy in is the fact that I can be able to even afford financing a new love, which is now podcasting and sharing my story. And being able to do that is a privilege on its own, and I'm entirely grateful to God for that. But I'm still very much aware of the changes and the shifts and the transitions that I'm going through, because this is not the only change that I'm experiencing. I think I'm experiencing change in very many different aspects of my life that have a lot to do with where my career is heading. And I believe that all of this is for a purpose. So yeah, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this season. I hope that you guys have enjoyed every single act that we have brought on board and the stories that they've shared. And please let us know what you're growing through and what you're glowing through on the comment section below. We will be able to look at this in season 2 for sure. And know that this is a safe space for you to be able to share. And that even as we come to a close, that we will come stronger, better, and more entertaining in the future for season 2. Let us know also who you'd like to see and who you'd like to see here sharing their story and being more vulnerable in this space. But I thank you so much for your support. I thank you so much for liking, subscribing, sharing, and the kind and loving messages that I've received regarding this podcast. And I will definitely see you in season 2. Mwah. Bye.